If you're looking for the same old boring, predictable ideas that the mainstream media pushes, look elsewhere. Welcome to This and That with Josh and Zakk. Anything goes, nothing's off limits. So let's have a couple of drinks and dive into conversations from conspiracy theories and aliens to alternative health, corruption, and free energy. Our only agenda is to lay out the facts and all the angles. No agenda. Welcome in to This and That with Josh and Zakk.
What's up, Zakk?
How's it going?
What's up, Teri?
Hey.
Thank you for coming on, even though we had like a great 30-minute conversation before recording.
Already?
But to get things started, tell our audience a little bit about yourself, your experience in this field that we're going to get into, holistics and health.
I'll just give you a little general synopsis, and maybe we'll get into a little bit more of it later. But I go by Teri Lynn. My nickname is Nikki because I actually changed my name. But my practice name is Teri Lynn. That's my given name, first and middle. And so I am a certified holistic health consultant. I have coursework finished with the Institute for the Psychology of Eating with Mark David, and I have about 20 years of self-study along with that. So I also have a degree in communication access. I've been doing that for 25 years. So my niche right now is holistic detoxification. And I feel like my experience with communication access, I know that's a little vague, but what it's allowed me to do is really listen to my clients and be able to be really effective in communication. A lot of people don't communicate that well and don't even know how to say how they feel. And so with my niche of holistic detoxification, it takes what my understanding and when I work with people on the 3 levels of body, mind, and spirit. That's so important to understand that there's been a lot of information and folks speaking about how to be healthy, on a physical level and on body level. And it's becoming more and more common, and an understanding is becoming more clear that it's not just about that there's the other aspects that are all tied in there. And I know through my own journey, I've realized, because I went hard on the physical stuff, cleansing and detox and, training, working out, I did all of it. And it only got me so far. And so to make a long story short about who I am, my niche just landed there, because when I sat down with my own life coach, everyone should have a coach, I'm like, Carolyn, what am I doing? Like, I need a definition of what I'm doing. And she knew me by then. And I tried to express it. And I said, I know what it is now. It's holistic detoxification. That's what it is. People are talking about detox all the time. And I'm bringing a little bit, it's different. What I'm bringing is different. And my clients or people I talk to keep wanting to drill down and go back into the physical. And that's cool. And we can do a lot of work there. But the other pieces are going to be the biggest movers. And so my training with the certification that I do hold, we look at the who and the why. Who is the eater and why? Because how you do food is how you do life. And so I take that and I run with that. And I end up, when I work with people, or even now I'm working with the whole company, which is really how you found me. And I take that piece and I expand it. And I look at really what is involved. And it's way more than people realize. And it's actually a lot easier than people realize.
Yeah. Yeah. It's what our ancestors did. Like they didn't have all the McDonald's and Hardee's and the Tyson manufacturing plants where we're completely severed from our food. Like we don't garden, we don't butcher our own meat. We just go to the supermarket and we get whatever we need, including cereal.
Yep.
Sorry, Zach, you have a kid, but I gotta give you shit.
Oh no, I take full blame in that one.
What is it, Fruity Pebbles?
Blame. Oh, any kind of cereal. Horrible.
Your cereal is my ice cream.
Yeah.
Oh, okay. Yep. We all have our vices. Mine's just food. Like mainly like food I cook. I don't have like a limit. I just keep eating.
Yeah,
Like,
but you make homemade meals every single night.
Yeah. I don't cook anything out of a box.
Yeah, we do too, but sometimes it's just. See, my thing is, I told you
Something
before.
quick.
Yeah, well, no, I'm saying like my cereal problem is sometimes I'll just wake up in the middle of the night, I have a bowl of cereal in my lap, and I'm like, what the hell, dude? How did I get here? All of a sudden, next thing you know, it's like, oh, I already know I've been eating it, so I'm gonna finish it. It's like almost like I sleep and eat, and it's
heard of that too.
Weird. And
I've heard of
it never used to happen to me until. I don't know, like 5 years ago. I don't know what I changed to do that, but
You're changing.
Yeah, I'm growing older.
But when you talk about detox, Teri, how deep can it go? Like, because I mean, Zach knows about it. I know about it. I've come across a few people, but I don't think a lot of people realize that these are really a thing, that they exist, but they actually are a lot of them anyway, are the causes of all like the symptoms that people get that they inevitably get drugs for, really.
Yeah. So I use the word detox and detoxification because that's the word that many are familiar with. But there's a difference between detoxification and cleansing. And nobody talks about this. And I really had to check myself a few times in last year. And I'm like, am I wrong here? Like what? And I still use the term because we know what we're talking about when we say that. But I'm going to use the terms usually when I speak, not interchangeably. So when it comes to health on a body, mind, and spirit level, it comes down to two things. Things that are there that shouldn't be there and things that should be there that aren't there. Now we can go down a rabbit hole and really talk about that, but that's what it comes down to. So when people say detoxification, I know what they mean. They mean getting the bad stuff out. But really, that's just cleansing. Your liver is the only detoxification organ in your body, if we're talking on a physical level. It's the only thing that can take something that's toxic, it takes it apart and actually makes it more toxic. And then the next phase makes it so that it's not toxic. That's a detoxification process. The rest of what our body does in support of all of that is it cleanses. It releases and cleanses. And so what we're really trying to do is we're trying to cleanse out, support our body's cleansing systems so that we can release the things that aren't supposed to be there. And when they're there, we don't feel well. And the medical establishment, the allopathic community, gives all kinds of names to these things, which is a set of symptoms, including the psychiatric field, which is really just a conglomeration of symptoms of what can come down to being poisoned on some level.
Yeah, slowly.
And not getting and that's another reason why you don't realize what the cause is, because things happen slowly, right? So I don't know if that answered your question about detoxification.
Oh, it did. It was more of like a just a segue to go into something deeper, because if anybody, to me, like I've talked to you about previous to this episode about Jennifer Daniels, Dr. Jennifer Daniels. Yeah. And that was the first time I ever came across any kind of cleansing or detoxification. And I had not felt better after the first time and after every subsequent time after that. So, and if people aren't familiar, that's just one way to do it. But parasites is pretty much what I'm trying to get to. Like, just like every living animal, we're a biological being. We're going to have parasites, just like plants have parasites, animals have parasites.
Especially if you're buying the hamburger from Walmart, stuff like
or
that.
Aldi's, or like, because anybody wants to know about a deep rabbit hole, just look at when you go to buy fresh meat. If it's not from a regenerative farm, at like and I know that stuff is expensive, like $10 a pound of ground beef. I know because I pay for it. But when you look into, and it's dark red, it's not painted pink, and I'm getting to that. But when you look into like how they make fresh, or I shouldn't say fresh, but how to make meat look fresh when it's been through the whole transportation process and it grays over time and they have to pretty much recolorify the meat. It's kind of nasty when you find out about that. Same thing with chickens. Like factory farming, when you find out about that, makes you kind of look a little bit harder for where you get your chicken and your eggs and everything else. It's
hard for the meat, but it's also hard for your vegetables, because a lot of that stuff isn't even grown outside anymore.
Unless you're going to a farmer's market,
right.
Most of that stuff comes from Mexico, man.
Right. So
even if it says it's grandma's organics, it still says sticker on the fruit or the vegetables. I know, I pay for it.
Yeah,
it still says.
You know how to market it. It's market unless you know the farm. I mean, it's out here at the farmers markets. They're people coming in from Mexico.
Yep.
Bringing in their truckloads. It's not like even local a lot of times. So,
would you say
shady stuff?
Would you say that most people have parasites and are just unaware, and that is what may be causing some symptoms like lethargic behavior or lethargy or depression, or because from what I've read, it can create emotional responses as well within the body. It's not just physical. I'm
going to challenge everything you think you know about stuff.
Please, because I don't know everything. I never claimed to.
Of course not. And I just want to say, I sure don't either. However, parasites. Oh yeah, that's a big topic, right? So if we look at nature, I always feel like I have to define, where I'm coming from first, and so that's what I'm trying to do. And we look at nature. Okay, let me give you an example. You see like a pond or like some standing water somewhere. And it's rained a lot or whatever, and it's just standing there for a while. What's going to happen? You're going to get mosquitoes. You're going to get stuff growing in there, right?
Algae.
Yeah. Why?
It's the nature's response to that current environment.
Mm-hmm. And the current environment, what nature's response is, it's nature's responding to what needs to be done. And so when people look at a situation, let's say it's in your yard and you want to clean it up, do you just spray the mosquitoes to kill them?
Most people do.
Yeah. Yeah. Everyone poisons themselves. Yeah.
Well, I think most people know to clean up the pond, or to get rid of the standing water somehow, maybe drain it, or, the cause is not the mosquitoes. The cause is the fact that the water's been standing there. And so the mosquitoes hatch or come to take care of the problem. So if we use it as an example, that is how nature works. And so what we call parasites are doing a job. And so in our bodies, it's doing the same kind of job. And I can give you a lot of examples. But what I'll say first is that parasites are there for a reason. Maybe if someone swallowed a parasite, like straight up, that could find a home. But even then, parasites are not going to be able to live and breed if the conditions are not favorable. And so parasites also, by serving a purpose, are there to help us reach homeostasis. Now, I'm not saying that parasitic infections are good for us and make us feel good. But there is a balance. There is a certain terrain that we have to achieve, just like our whole ecosystem. Our bodies have an ecosystem, and parasites are part of that. I'll give you just one example. Candida overgrowth. A lot of women are familiar with that. Did you know that organism will proliferate around mercury? It will even encapsulate it, digest it, just have it within itself. So I wrote a whole article on this, that there's a cycle of yeast overgrowth, or Candida specifically, Candida albicans, and mercury. How's the cycle? If mercury was going to run free throughout your body, unhindered, you would be in deep doo-doo because it would cause damage. What if Candida grows, and that use this as one example, as a way to shield you from that? So when people go on these cleanses for Candida, the same symptoms that they get from Candida die off is the same symptoms they get from mercury poisoning. Now, there's more to it than all of that. But I only say this to say that we know that parasites inside the body, if we're talking about that as right now, are doing a job. And if you clean up the terrain of your inner body, there's no way that they can proliferate unless it's a very, let's say, short term, and you want that. Like in the sense that maybe you just got, poisoned with mercury. You want that to be taken care of and harnessed by Candida. And then there's a way to tackle both at the same time.
So does this get into like the pH levels of your body, whether it's more acidic or more alkaline?
The pH levels? Yes, it could. It could get into that. Yeah, for sure. So, okay, so there's different parts of your body that are supposed to be certain pHs. So when people talk about alkalinity, yes, most of your body is supposed to be at a more alkaline or base level, but that doesn't mean everything. Women's vaginal canal is not supposed to be alkaline. It's supposed to be a little acidic. Your body knows how to do all that. Your body naturally will balance itself. Your skin has a slightly acidic mantle, it's called. And so when you're scrubbing yourself with these alkaline soaps, that's why Lumi is popular, because it's the right pH for your skin.
What is it called?
We go in there and we're trying to change all this by our lifestyle and our habits. You're going to have problems. So in general, yeah, if let's say you have a healthy pH, you're going to have a lot less issues overall in general for your health.
Interesting, because I was reading about like if your body drops or gets too acidic, that it can provide a optimal environment for Candida.
Yeah, and so that's twofold. So it will provide an optimal environment for organisms to proliferate. And also, it could be that those organisms are trying to help you reach balance. So I'm not a total expert on the alkaline diet or anything like Dr. Robert Young is, but he's actually a
Good
colleague
name
of
drop.
ours.
Good name drop. No, I'm familiar. Good name drop.
Okay.
Yeah.
Yeah, so he works with us. And so,
okay.
yeah. He actually was the final kind of tweaker formulator for Masterpiece.
Oh. All right.
Yeah, he made the formula very much of a higher pH and has worked with the formula to make it really, really good.
Yeah, I like it.
Mm-hmm.
So when somebody comes to you and asks you about cleansing or detoxification, what do you usually tell them besides like what's your diet like? Or is that pretty much the first question?
No, it's actually not. Well, it depends what they're asking me, but I need to have context. I need to know what their goals are. Almost always with any discussion or program that I have for them, or recommendations really, I start with the basics. And the basics are basic. However, everybody's situation is a little unique. Also, it's what are they willing to do? What's at their disposal? Where are they at right now? How are they coming to the table? But you start with the basics with your body. And, for years, I also did let's look at your labs. And I still look at labs, but let's look at your labs. Let's, see what the doctors say. And I still look at all of that, but I put a lot more weight into it years ago. And I was more compartmentalizing everything. And now I realize, wait, let's just look at your lifestyle, including your diet, and see where you're lacking, because we all live in a human zoo. This is not a natural environment for us. So we have to try to mimic what a natural environment is for us as best as we can. So where in your lifestyle, including diet, are you lacking? And also I can look at by your symptoms, what maybe is your weakest link, and we can really target that. So it's really personalized. But however, simple things like we all know, but we don't necessarily know how to fix is your sleep, your diet, your water intake and quality of, the essential minerals that you're not getting and should be getting. What detoxification strategies are you using, because you need to use them daily because they're being bombarded every day. Those things, and starting off at a place that's comfortable for that person and they're willing to do, and they can afford. So I really start there. It's pretty basic at first. And then what I want to see when you get all this done, at least whatever, as much as you're willing and can do, then we see what's left. Because I guarantee you're going to cut down on whatever you're coming to me for. Whatever complaints you have are going to be cut down. And we're going to see what is left and what has been cleared up. Because we're going to work on systemic changes first. I'm not going to tackle your thyroid necessarily first. I used to do that. I'm not going to do that. That we're going to see what clears up. Just by using, I'll use this as an example, by using Masterpiece, we've had people that say that they're on their thyroid meds, that they cut down their insulin. Like, okay, just detoxing your body effectively can already fix a lot of some of those issues because your body's healing.
But that's the thing. That's where we get into, I wouldn't say the weeds, but like this is where the conspiracy mindset is, because Zakk and I have talked pretty extensively in the past about the Rockefeller industry, the allopathic industry. They knew what they were doing when they went off the Merck's manual, and they knew that, hey, if we just put sugar in everything and we just process things because they're cheaper. I know what they were doing. They were looking at it from a business standpoint. What can we do to maximize profits? And if I was an evil, overlord, I would most likely do the exact same thing they did.
I actually got his speech to put on the page for this episode. The Rockefellers, his statement saying we need to dumb them down because they don't need to know we're in power.
We need a nation of workers, not thinkers.
Yep.
And the only way to do that is to change what we put in our food, because back in the day, before the 1900s, this is another thing some people don't understand is, yes, things may have been harder. I mean, from what we're told, possibly. I mean, I don't know. I don't really believe a lot of the mainstream history anymore. I can't come across too many other, I would say, speed bumps along that road. And they ate a lot more organically. Like a lot of families were growing their own food.
There was no such thing as organic. It was called food.
Yeah. That too. Too. But like, I have to say something that can relate the people to what we're talking about. But they didn't like when you talk about like the early 1900s and stuff, you get into like the Dust Bowl and like the whole,
right.
I don't know if that was real. It could have been, but I mean, at this point, I don't know. I don't know, because every time I get a book that's like in the early 1900s, it completely blows my mind on like the stuff that is never talked about, that should have been talked about. And it was just changed and lied about from that point on. It was very weird in that, there's like a 50-year period between like 1910 and like 1870, 1860, to where there's may have been some, fudgery going on with whatever was going on. But they knew. They were like, let's make people sicker. Let's make people sicker with the food they're eating. And then when they get those symptoms, we're just going to send them to the doctor. They're going to run a prescription that just is for the symptoms, not the underlying cause.
Yep.
And that's one thing I've noticed, is that a lot of doctors aren't nutritionists. They don't even know about half of this stuff, like at all.
No, they get like an hour or two of nutritional training.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. I just, that's funny that you say that. So, I just was out of the emergency room like a week ago. I was like sick for like a week. I believe it was diet related. I've spoken to 3 doctors. They've brought up celiac disease, all 3 of them, and it makes sense because I'm highly gluten intolerant, like highly. Like I never was ever until like 5 years ago maybe. But when I did a deep dive on bread, it's absolutely bad for you. It's all poison. Throw it away. Don't ever eat it. Like, it's better for you to take the buns off of everything you get and just eat the processed meat than it is to eat the bread with the meat, because the bread is absolutely dangerous. Like if anybody just take an hour out of your day and just look into like some of the chemical compounds of bread, and it's not natural. It's not.
That's the worst part is where it's at right now, quality wise.
Yeah.
And a lot of people that think that they're gluten intolerant are actually glyphosate intolerant or something.
Oh, you mean like, Roundup?
Yeah.
Yeah, I was just about to touch on that, because I think it's because of the long time I've been exposed to it, eating the breads and the bullshit. I believe that it's caused, I wouldn't say irreversible, but it's definitely gotten worse to where I've cut it out absolutely, to where I don't even want to walk down. I don't even want to walk it. Like, they make that shit taste so good. Like the pastries.
That bread aisle smells like heaven.
Yes.
Doesn't it? Like, it's like it hits the opiates in your brain. Like there is a mechanism where you get addicted to it, and it does cause little scratches in your intestines. By the way, like wheat, berries, flours, they're actually not a health food. However, what we have now is an abomination to what it used to be, as far as when they made bread and out of the way that they did it on sourdough and all that. So
sourdough is probably the cleanest bread you can eat,
here.
But trying to make it is a pain in the ass.
See, I switched to microgreen bread.
I know what you're talking about.
It's good, but it's so damn hard.
Is it processed, like highly processed, or what do they do for it?
I've tried reading it, but there's like, obviously it's just microgreens,
Where do you get that? Like, tell me about that.
So I'll have to find it and look it up, because it's a certain brand that we get, but all it says is it's microgreens. That's what it's made from. So obviously, if you go to the store, if you go buy microgreens, somehow they get that down to like a bread. There's no flour, or like no bleached flour. And when I say hard, it's not like hard where you hit it on the table, but you can't fold it.
Cracker.
Yeah, no, you can't fold it, otherwise it will break.
Yeah.
But it's good. I mean, it don't make me feel as bloated or as full, so it's all right. But I get mine I live in Madison, so I get mine at Target. That's the healthiest thing that I can find, unless it's like the homemade sourdough at the farmer's market or something like that. But again, like you said, it's usually different cultures that bring over for like all the good food. So it's hard. It's just hard.
Yeah, for sure. I mean, there's flowers that you can get. If I do have flour in my house, there's only one place I get it from. It's Tropical Traditions. I actually think it might be Healthy Traditions now, but it's tested to be glyphosate free. It's not on any of that BS that you get anywhere else.
Right.
And it's the original einkorn.
Right.
So like there's ways, and I'm not a big bread. I mean, God, I love bread, but I can't. I just don't. Just don't.
Yeah, I'm the same way. Well, Josh said that's how he kind of came across, was the parasite in the. What I was gonna say is, when I came across like detoxing, I guess I don't know if I'd say more cleansing, like you said, was I was watching a video I was super young, and it was, I want to say Chinese, Japan, somewhere in that area over there. They'd put, when they got sick, they'd use honey and onions, and then or they chop an onion in half and put it in their socks on the bottom of their foot. By the time they woke up, it would clear out, like the onion would be black from all the toxins and everything from the bottom of their foot.
Mm-hmm.
And I don't know, that super intrigued me. So I dove down in the rabbit hole. Just kind of what you're saying is like the detox, the cleansing, and what you can do. And so yeah, that was my first like point breaking of like, man, why are they using organic food or food And we're using these pills, man-made pills for everything. It's nothing is, like you said at the beginning of it, a lot more is coming out of like the holistic and bringing us to nature or connecting us to everything. So I guess is like, that's something that you have heard of, and do you think that works?
Well, it's the principle is that because your skin is, has pores, and there's 5 routes of elimination that your body has. That's defecation, which we're all very familiar with, and that's the best way.
Yep.
Urination, respiration, perspiration, and for women, menstruation. So perspiration, anything that can get from your skin. So it's drawing things out from the bottom of your feet. The reason why is because you have a lot of pores in your feet. That's why those foot, I can't remember the name of it right now. Spas, detox things.
I know what you're talking about. Yep. Like
I forget the name of
the
that.
feet baths or whatever. Yeah.
Is that where they have like the little fish that eat the dead skin
No,
off?
this is like the.
I'm thinking of a Japanese song.
Yeah, no.
Maybe. Like
This
they get
is
real
like you
deep into
put
it.
them in, and I don't know.
It's a foot bath. It's a foot bath,
And it
it
detoxes.
draws out toxins.
Oh, I'm sorry.
Yeah.
I had to use the restroom. I'm like 45 seconds late.
I didn't know how to explain the question, so I kind of was jumping all over. But yeah, I just want to know if you believe in the whole, like I said, putting onions.
I haven't done the onion thing. I will say I put garlic on my young son. This was a long time ago. We had a wart, big one on the bottom of his foot, and we did fresh garlic, a slice every night. At least it was nightly. Well, I tell you, that fucker just came right out.
Yeah.
It just pulled right out from the root. Now it took patience, but it just came right out. And so I believe that a lot of these things can work, and they are a way for you to help your body balance, to help your body. And when I say balance, because the idea is to take out what shouldn't be there and to put in what should. So that is an illustration, example of taking out what is overloaded, what shouldn't be there. Because anytime you have a cold or a symptom like something like that, your body's not misbehaving. Your body's doing exactly what it needs to do. So we look at these things opposite of what they should be looked at. However, we can help the body along in cleansing in that process. Your body is trying to cleanse, so let's help it for sure. But everything is backwards. When you're talking about Rockefeller and, I forget what made me think of that, but all the things we've just been talking about last 15 minutes, we have to know that everything is opposite of what it should be. Everything's backwards.
Yes, if the government tells you to get vaccinated, don't get vaccinated. Do the opposite of everything that you see and hear on news, on the television. That's all I can say. And it's not just that, but it's even the health that I remember that they taught you in high school. I'm 39, so it's not too long since I was in high school. I still remember the food pyramid, but that is all bullshit.
And they admit it now.
Yeah, now.
Yeah, now I know.
100 years later.
Yeah.
Oh, hey guys, we were wrong. We were curtailed by money. We didn't have any logic. Yeah, my bad. My bad. But we won't do it again. So trust us from here on out. That's the way that's the way I always
we got
love
it now.
Yeah.
We got it now.
Yeah, we lied to you for the last 40, 50 years, but we're not going to do it anymore. We promise. Yeah, like I can't. Like I make jokes about it now on the podcast because I can't help it. Like some of it's real funny. Like they're blatant with it. They're very blunt. They don't really care, and it's comical now.
They're getting away with it, and so people. The reason they can do that is because we are just jellyfish as a class. Certainly not everybody is, but we're just some wet noodles that just okay. Well, I guess come on.
Well,
think.
Well, that's the thing, though. I'm glad you said that word, think. So, because I was going to bring up the obesity rate, and a lot of people hate hearing this, and I talk a lot about it just because I I know, well, I just know from not personal experience, but family members, it affects your mental wellness, your physical, and honestly, your spiritual too. Because if your body's not healthy, it's not going to work the right way. Meaning you're going to be pretty much your crutch or crutches are going to be medication. And a lot of people who are obese are on medication, whether it's Ozempic or a diabetic drug of some sort, which diabetic drugs are extremely expensive, especially if you don't have insurance. And honestly,
and then you start
go ahead.
Then you start going down these spiraling down of, you start medicating one thing and
It brings
you're
up
not
another
gonna get
side
out of that
effect.
so easily.
Well,
Yeah.
it brings up another side effect, and then they'll write you a prescription for that for that side effect.
Well, you
as a
haven't fixed the
symptom.
problem either.
No, because they don't know how to. They're just taught.
Well, they're not trained. Yeah.
Yeah.
They
Oh,
don't
you have a
want to.
headache? Try Tylenol, and if that doesn't work, we'll give you a Percocet when you come back. like it's kind of crazy. Like if you have good insurance, and this is the thing that I've recently realized, because I've been out of the system for well over a decade. I've been relatively lucky when it comes to health, but because of this gluten issue or glyphosate, which is really what it is, and I think I can't remember what the stat is, but it's like I want to be modest, over 70% of people in America have traces of glyphosate in their bloodstream.
Yeah, you can test for it. I've actually
I
tested
know it's
myself
higher
for
than
it.
that, but I don't know the exact number, and I tend to butcher numbers and dates and names sometimes. So I'm like, I know that is in the ballpark, and being that it's low should be alarming, because a lot of people don't even know what glyphosate is. Like some people don't even know how to spell it. I'm not being mean. I'm being honest, because from what I've also been reading recently, there's a large portion of American society who does not have a reading level above the 3rd grade. It's kind of insane. And
Got proof of that right here.
No, you've got an IQ above 90. Okay, it's just you need
I
glasses.
just have an eyesight of 5.
Yeah, you need glasses for sure. This guy can't read. I hate to bust him on this, but he can't read a 65-inch television that's 4 feet away from him unless it's zoomed in 200%. Like, that's how bad his eyes are. You need glasses.
I know.
But anyway, that's completely unrelated to the subject.
I just got some, and I'm telling you, it changed my whole world. I was like,
Yeah, see?
Oh shit. Awesome.
I've had glasses since the 6th grade.
I did too. And then I got laser surgery in one eye, and that took me another 15 years or so, or I could get by, and then it didn't. And so I had to fix the other one. So I got this weird situation going on, but
it's permanent though, right? The laser surgery, like once you get
the
it.
lasers. Yep. Your eyes will still age. The other one I didn't touch because I wanted to have monovision, and it worked out really well. But then that one I didn't touch, that's getting pretty bad, and so I had to go in and get glasses, and I got one thick one and one thin one. And I also have a lazy eye in one of them. And so they had to rework the prescription again. There's like a prism you can put in it. And I was putting these glasses on because one prescription is so much stronger. And my lazy eye was like, oh, no, I'm out. And it would just whoop, whoop, go over to the side. And I'm like, well, I feel like I'm dizzy and what's happening. And there's a lot going on there. And so I wasn't the easiest patient, but I got 2 pairs. And I feel like I'm a new woman. It's just like, wow, I can see. This is how people see. Like, I forgot.
I
How
feel
clear
like
things are supposed to be.
I feel like it's going to get to a point to where they're going to be able to correct that, like completely.
I think the laser
probably
surgery you can get to either fix the far or the nearsightedness.
But you can't have them do both.
I don't think that's where no, I think it's one or the other. And I was nearsighted. So I fixed one eye so I could see far and left the other one. And the brain will just adjust until it can't, until the other one that I didn't touch, it was really lagging. And so
this is kind of it's unrelated, not to the eyes, but like to the general subject. But I'm going to keep going with this because I like this. The eyeballs in general, they only see a certain level of the light spectrum. They don't see all of it.
Yeah.
And other animals can actually see the other light spectrums like ultraviolet, infrared, so on and so forth. I think there's one more I'm missing. I have to read the universal one. I'm going to let you borrow that book after today, just so you know. That's why I pointed at it. Yeah. I want you to take it home because the illustrations are way better while they're, because he finally got interested in it, okay, because he doesn't really know that much about Walter Russell, even though I brought it up several times. I know this is a completely opposite segue, but whatever. But that kind of ties into like how we react to frequencies and stuff. But I just got the book back and he just got the audiobook. But the audiobook can't really describe the illustrations because he's not. I don't know if you have the universal one, Terry.
I don't.
Do you have any other books?
I don't have a lot of books right now. I'm doing Audible, but no, I don't. I haven't had their books.
That's me too.
Yeah.
Yeah. If you can, at least listen to the book.
It's free on Spotify.
Is it really?
Is it?
Yeah, that's where I got it.
I spent like $100 for this book.
It's
like
better to have it though.
It's 100 years old.
Oh, that's cool.
Yeah, it was written in 1917, published in 1926.
I love books. I love old books. I love all that. I wish space was not an issue.
Yeah. Well, space is an issue, but if you learn to utilize it, you can do great things. My suggestion, wall mounts. But anyway, I want to get back to the health, the detox, because I kind of want to dig deep a little bit on the heavy metals and the things that I don't think people are aware of that are like getting sprayed in the air on a daily basis. Chemtrails, but I've had arguments with people and they say it's contrails only, and I'm like, okay, I'm not gonna have this big that you just came at me with that in 2024, 2025. There's nothing I can say that's gonna change your mind, but they do. It's been tested. Like people have like set out not just like things to catch the things that have been sprayed in the air.
Oh yeah.
And then like seen the levels like the barium, the barium, the aluminum. I know I'm missing a couple.
Well, there's
Terry.
a scientist that is going off and he's like, from the 80s there was this much in the air, and then why is it tripled over time now? And he's freaking out. And that was like in 2012 or something.
I
have
stats from the last 3 years.
Yeah. Can you get into that at all? Just on the chemtrails?
Yeah, let's do that. First of all, there's patents on these things.
Yeah.
So if somebody wants to look at a patent and then still have cognitive dissonance, then you can't help them. So there's patents on that. It's public knowledge or public availability. Anyway, it's publicly available. So the CEO and founder of Human Consciousness Support, which is the company that I am with right now, Matthew Hazen, he knows personally an older gentleman that's from his state that does soil testing for the organic, including Amish farms in the whole United States. And he's been doing this for decades. And in his discussions with this guy, found out that in the last 3 years especially, the amount of aluminum especially, but the other chemicals that you mentioned, I don't know all of them either, but I know it's aluminum, barium, has risen, like tripled, like ridiculous amounts over the last few years. Now, these are Amish farms. These are farms that have never had fertilizer on them. The only way that they would be able to be transfected is possibly through the water, because we know our water systems, are polluted with heavy metals and microplastics. But, the stuff I can look at a patent and say, yes, they're doing this for whether they're saying weather modification. So why are the soil samples coming back so high if this isn't a problem? I think the evidence is right there. And people are also seeing this in hair testing which is becoming more and more popular. And the people that have done hair testing as analysts are seeing the changes as well.
Well, we've seen time and time again on the negligence that chemical companies and other manufacturing companies have with dumping chemicals just in the water supply openly. They've been sued, but the money they have to pay out doesn't even dent the money they bring in. So they don't worry about it. They just keep doing it. And most of those settlements you don't even obviously are not going to be publicly available. I mean, if you search for it, yes, but on the newspaper, in a magazine, no. you're not gonna and like causes cancer in not just a whole town, but a whole county. Okay. Water can be lit on fire coming out of the faucet. That's Flint, Michigan.
Yeah,
right there.
Yeah.
And that's not just including the farmland that gets affected, and those crops soak that infested water up, and that like it's almost like spraying it with pesticides and insecticides and all that stuff. That stuff still soaks into the plant itself. You're still consuming it.
Right.
There's still traces,
Right.
even if it's small amounts over a long period of time, which is their plan. It will actually cause damage to where it's going to bring you into a doctor's office at some point, which they're also connected with the dang medical. It's. I don't want it to sound like so doom and gloom. It's just the evidence is there. And it's not just what they're spraying and what they're like spraying in the air and dumping in the water. It's like, it's down to the spices you put on your food. If you don't do the research, there's heavy metals in your food or in your spices. I'm sorry. Well, in your food too, I guess.
Yeah.
I'm sure. And that's one thing that surprised me was I didn't know that. So don't buy cheap spices, people, and make sure what you're buying that may be expensive, check the company just to see, because there's been traces found in quite a few spices, and I cook a lot. And do you know who Amanda Fielding is?
No.
Okay, so she is an advocate. She's in her 70s now, I believe. I came across her on Rogan. She's an advocate of psychedelics. She's been doing psychedelics her whole life, to the point to where her level of research is pretty extensive. But what they found was that there was a possible connection with heavy metals, with dementia and Alzheimer's. And the reason why I'm bringing this up is because there was an incident to where one of her clients was a son, and their mother had like late levels of dementia. And he had asked her if it would have been a good idea, because he was an advocate of that field as well. And he asked her if it was a good idea to administer his mom LSD. And he did so. And I've told you this too before.
There's a movie.
Is there?
Robin Williams was in it. He's the doctor that prescribed I don't know if it's LSD, but he starts and it works.
But she was also found. Well, anyway, the pretty much the conclusion of the story was within 45 minutes to an hour of taking the LSD, she didn't only remember who her son was, but they had conversations. They wrote poetry.
I was going to say they were
Like a
singing
whole
songs and stuff. To each other.
Yeah,
Yep.
and what was found later was that she had heavy collections of lead and aluminum in the brain. And I don't think people know this, and I can't prove it because I'm not an expert. I just read a lot, and I don't necessarily like stamp link it in on my desktop.
Yeah.
But I'm pretty sure that there is a connection between Alzheimer's, dementia, and heavy metals that are able to penetrate the blood-brain barrier, and it's because you find it everywhere in people. When you start to look at people with Alzheimer's and dementia, you start to find out that they tend to have abnormal levels of heavy metals in the body. Normally the brain. Now, I don't know if, like, I'm sure you know a little bit more than this than I do, because I kind of want to get into that heavy metal conversation because I think it's a big deal.
Yeah. So what you're saying is what I understand as well. And I think it's pretty common knowledge at this point that those conditions that you mentioned are related to heavy metals. And I'm not saying that that's the only reason or cause. Also with autism, seems to be a direct correlation. And one of the ways we can know this is when you start getting these heavy metals out of the body, including the brain, those, quote, diseases, conditions, sometimes, many times, will resolve themselves. So to me, that's a lot of proof right there with the idea that you're not sick, you've been poisoned. And even though heavy metals are an insidious thing, and it's not necessarily, we can't really we can't really control the incoming so much. Like you're talking about, watch what you're eating and all that. Yes. Like that should become second nature. We should just learn the little hacks and little things that we can do to stop the incoming as much as we can. But we're not going to stop all of the incoming. We're getting sprayed like bugs. It's in our water. It's in our food. So do what you can to stop the incoming, limit the incoming, decrease the incoming, and understand there is going to be incoming. Transfection is going to happen. And so what are some of the ways, what's the low-hanging fruit that we can get to help us to cleanse out these things? And I think the easiest answer is by chelation, because heavy metals are metal and they hold a positive charge. So what takes them out? If you have a magnet that's a negative charge, it's going to cling onto it. So what if you could put in a negatively charged particle that was inert and put it through your body, and let's just say it was even small enough to get anywhere water goes, because some of these particles are super small, then theoretically it would cling on to that. It's what chelation is, by magnetics. So it would magnetically cling together and take it out of the body. And we can do this today. And that's how you found me, talking about Masterpiece. So heavy metals are a big deal. And the people that are getting these things out of their, not only that, microplastics are kind of a big deal now too. In the same kind of...
well, they lower the fertility rate to where humans cannot obviously procreate. And that lowers... How many countries now are talking about population crisis in the next 20 years?
Japan's big.
Japan's huge. I feel like China knew about this like ahead of time. They've been on point. I think they're going to be the new superpower, to be honest. I know it's like off subject, but it's just like America's dealing with one, Europe's dealing with one. It's Australia's. It's like everywhere because of the microplastics in the food. And a lot of the stuff we get from microwaving food in plastic containers. Stop doing it.
I don't
Buy
even
glass
use a
only.
microwave anymore.
I threw mine out 2 years ago. I only you know what I'm talking about, Terry. I only preheat my stuff in an oven now. It takes a little bit longer, but I'm telling you, people, twice baked food tastes way more delicious than the first, man. I'm telling, like it's just better. And
you know what my microwave is used for?
To put metal in and to watch fireworks. I don't know.
Coffee.
So it's here, right? I'm not going to take it. I'm like, hey, it's got that Lazy Susan in there, that thing that spins. I put all my supplements on there and whoop, I spin it in the morning and I get what I want.
Yeah.
It's full of my supplements. All my bottles are in there.
Yeah. Like once I found out about microwaves, this was like just a couple years ago. I believe like it was the next day or shortly after I threw my shit away and never bought another one. I don't microwave anything at all.
No.
Honestly,
No.
I feel that's the same way with our headphones.
Yeah, I got to get away from my AirPods. I've been reading about stuff about that too, and how the binaural beats. And I know about that through the Monroe Institute, and it's a real thing. But it can based off the different frequencies, it can change your brain waves. It can actually not cause damage, but almost like put you in a trance, but it can affect memory and other things.
Binaural beats?
No, it's just when you look into Monroe Institute, they use it for a positive effect. But when you look into the AirPods or anything Bluetooth, where you're using both in each ear, and it's because of the frequencies that they're putting out, it's affecting the brain activity, and it's not necessarily in a positive sense. It's, from what I've been reading, it's like a negative. Like it affects memory. Brain fog. It doesn't affect brain fog, obviously it causes it, but other things of that nature, like Bluetooth, anything Bluetooth in both ears, it's because of the connecting aspect. I think one is not so bad, but both I've read are actually pretty bad over a long period of time. It's almost like everything convenient is not good for you. Which should honestly red flag for everybody. just saying, convenience may not be the way. I'm just saying.
Get back to the basics for sure.
But I don't think a lot of people know about the basics, though, Teri.
No, and we're not going to totally get there either, because we live in the world that we live in. Like, I have Bluetooth AirPods, and I hardly use them. I only use them at the gym. It's the only place I use. Or if I'm driving and I've got to put them in because I can't hear. I'm on a phone call or something. But so yeah, using the one is better. I did hear that. And also, I have these little tiny stickers, and I don't know if they work. These little tiny stickers. I forget, it's Q something. And I put them right on there. I also have these stickers on my devices, and it's either supposed to harmonize it or mitigate it. I don't remember which one it is, but like those little things you can do. And
Are they geometric patterns?
No, this is not. It does have like a design on it, but I don't think, I wouldn't call it a geometric pattern.
Okay, because there's some things I've come across and read about. I don't even want to say the names because I'll just butcher them anyway. But it's based off of the way what people think of is shapes are shapes, patterns are patterns. They don't have any meaning, right? But everything has a frequency. Everything. And just like your normal frequency, you can break it down into a pattern if you had a physical form of it. Well, those forms in a geometric pattern, or those patterns, still have the same effect, from my understanding. And I don't think people know that. Just like people don't understand how words have more power than what they think, especially if it's based on yourself. You know what I'm saying? Like, like the self-talk, like the negative talk to yourself. Like, what are you telling? Like, what criticisms are you?
Right.
All that stuff. But I think that all that, so that's why I asked you if it had a geometric shape, because there's things I've seen that you can put down or like cover your devices to stop those waves from getting out of the device, if that makes sense.
They could, if they really wanted to, when they make these devices, they could install it right into the device. There's things that they could do to make it so that it wasn't harmful, and it's not done.
Well, no, they have no problem using gold for other things. Well, why don't you, like, people remember, like, when you bring up runes, and I don't want to get all like, woo woo on people. I'm not a witch, I swear. It's just that there's a lot of reasons why all these ancient civilizations had all these symbols, and you saw them everywhere. And those symbols have power, just like words have power. It all has a frequency. And this is why wearing certain things, whether it be crystals in a certain pattern or a certain order, like on a necklace or a bracelet, whatever, can still affect your body in specific ways. I don't want to get into that right now, but it's just, I feel like there's a lot of things that people just don't know, and just talking about it is enough to a certain extent, if that does make sense.
Well, we're programming the universe to give us what we're asking for. And so, like, a lot of these devices that are supposed to mitigate and ground and all that, honestly, I don't feel any of it. I don't use a lot of it because of that. When I go outside, and I'm a big, like, barefoot on the ground girl. Like, I live in Arizona. I can do it most of the year, if not the whole year, really. Actually, except for summer when the ground is like 300 degrees, you know? But that's the only time I feel different. That's the only time I feel like it's actually working. So a lot of this stuff, I think what I do is I'm like my own fortress. I think I just say, hell no. I don't consent. I mean, I don't say it, on purpose. I just think I have this barrier around me and I don't get affected by the EMFs and that. I mean, I don't know if that can be 100% true, but I'm just saying I don't see a difference. People are saying, oh my gosh, you feel the EMFs right here, and it's just awful. And I'm like, no. And then they say, oh, this thing made me feel so much better. I'm like, no, I don't feel that either, So I'm either not sensitive that way, or I just have this innate hell to the no, you're not going to affect me. But when my feet are on the ground, I just feel calmer. I feel just well-being is just better. That's the only thing I feel. So I think maybe this is to your point of what we intend, whether we say it out loud or it's even subconscious programming. I don't, it can be either. I think that holds the highest weight. Not to say these other things are crutches, because I use them, like I said, here and there.
Well, I definitely agree with you on the grounding, Zakk.
Yeah, I was just gonna say, we really like grounding.
Yeah, Zakk. There's a good article on the National Library of Medicine, specifically about grounding, earthing, and it breaks it down way more than what I'm able to. But pretty much the gist of the research is they came across the fact that when you ground, meaning you either make contact with your palms of your hands or the base of your feet. In other words, take your socks and shoes off, because shoes are an actual lie.
Mm-hmm.
They're just a lie. Yeah, they protect your feet, but from what? Because if you just walk barefoot more often, you'd be less likely to, I don't know, do dumb shit. I don't know. Like the people back in the day when they had just come across moccasins, those are like pretty much the closest you can get to not any breaking the connection from your feet to your earth. But
if it's leather, it's conductive.
Well, it shows that earthing and grounding lowers your cortisol levels significantly, especially over a long period of time, which lowers a lot of chances of symptoms like depression, anxiety, and other problems that people take medication for. I've even heard of doctors prescribing exercise, which is not illegal. I brought this up to Dr. Peter McCullough, and he had the same reaction you did, except he said, awesome.
Yeah.
Yeah. But yeah, that's one thing is like doctors can't prescribe exercise. Like it's okay. Like people shouldn't have why? Like this is another thing is like if you just 65, 70 years ago, the state of our country was in a completely different way. Yeah. We were all fit. People can blame it on the war. I don't care. I say it was because of JFK. He really cared about health and people found benefits of it. I don't know. That's just me. But when you are healthy, you do find benefits. That's why it's hard to relate with people that are not healthy.
That's true.
Like when you try to explain to them, you're just like, you feel like their parents or like a close sibling. And they're just like, I don't want
to it.
Yeah. And you're just like, well, I know you see it every day when you wake up and you look in the mirror. And I'm not being mean. It's just makeup's not going to cover that up. So stop it. Just stop it.
I think many are so far from understanding what health is supposed to feel and look like
Yes.
Yes.
that it just gets to be accepted.
But they get it from magazine covers and influencers and social media. Like, that's the problem. Like, really, it comes from within. And I know that sounds like woo woo, but it's not. Like, it's not fake. Like, if you do, for the majority, take care of yourself, and it's not just eating right, but even if you don't eat that right, just exercise more. And that could be walking a few miles a day. It takes 30 minutes.
Yeah, but I mean, I've had a real shitty meal, you know, and then you walk, because
It's because your body's working.
yeah, no, all of a sudden you wake up in the morning, you feel more shitty than you did the night before. That's because your
I've never
body's
done that.
finally like, you dumb bastard.
Depending on
know,
what
like-
you actually consumed and how
Right.
much.
Yes.
That's the thing. That's the good thing about. I don't know, Terry, what your diet is. If you're meat heavy, a vegetarian.
You asking?
Yes.
I'm very
I'm
literal.
curious.
So,
I'm
when people
curious.
say I don't know, say yeah, well, you don't know, but do you want to know? So I'm a nutritarian. So I want the best nutrition I can, and so I've been on almost every diet there is. You know, I did a lot of experimentation. I was a raw vegan for 2 years. That was when I was really into the groups that were natural hygiene was, you know, what I was really into for a couple of years. So I was like way on the end of that spectrum there. And it was good for about a year, and then I should have stopped. So I do have some strong opinions about diet. However, the place where I come from on it is eating psychology. And so I really look at it from a couple different lenses. So where I'm at now is I realized, and before I say this, there are other ways of looking at a person to say what they should be eating. And I never put a lot of weight into that. But I'll tell you that all of those ways, like blood type diets, slow metabolizer or fast metabolizer, they all point to the diet that I seem to settle on that makes me feel the best and also doesn't put a lot of emotional pressure on me. And that's a varied diet. So what I do is I look for the most highest quality food sources I can get. And that's when we were talking earlier. I don't even remember if we were on the air at that point, but yeah, we were talking about the flowers and stuff. Okay, yeah, I have some in my house, but I'm going to find the best damn stuff there is in the world, and I'm going to have it sent. You know, so the animal protein that I eat is from a local ranch, and it's grass fed. So I'm like, all right, you know, do the best that I can, supporting humanely sourced products. And I know that I have to take care of myself first. And as far as the arguments about vegan or omnivores or even carnivores, with farming, it's just a fact that when you do modern day agriculture and you're using these heavy machines and you know, monocrops and all that, not only is that depleting the soil because unless you're doing a lot of crop rotation, generally they aren't doing, you're depleting the soil and you're not getting a very nutritional product. You're killing animals left and right when you're doing that. Those little animals that are living in the ground, they die. So if you're on a diet that is no animal products, you're still supporting that. So you just have to look at things real globally and on a macro level. If you're trying to be, let's say, eat a diet that is very, quote, ethical, because I did that. I went around and around with that. So how can I support my body so that I have something of value to give to the world so that I don't feel like crap every day, and do it in a way that is most ethical, that is supporting that if everyone did what I did, it would probably be a better situation. And so I have a varied diet, and it does vary even throughout the years. And I have had different seasons in my life where I've had I felt like I needed more protein, or I needed more carbohydrates, or like for the 2 years I was raw vegan, I was pretty much eating fruit all day, every day. And so I know what all that feels like. And so I don't think there's a right and a wrong. What I do think is right and wrong, though, is the ethics behind it. And so supporting what you can do to do the least harm.
Yeah, because I'm gonna have to take Rogan's stance on this, which agrees with you. If you're full blown vegetarian and you're that way because you think you're saving the environment, no, because it's just like what Teri said. When they do monocrop agriculture and they have to do vast areas like hundreds, if not thousands of acres, it's scorched earth.
Yep.
It's not like they put up signs and they speak animal language and they let everybody know ahead of time. Hey guys, you guys got 7 days to get out. No. They just come in with chainsaws and fire and they just kill everything.
Yes.
So it's not just the little animals, it's the birds. It's everything that makes that ecosystem work. And I know that sounds, again, I say woo-woo a lot when I come across this, but I feel like that's what people think of it as, because it's what I thought of it as when that was before I found out. Like, I was completely ignorant. And yeah, I guess all I can say is there's a lot of woo-woo. like what people don't understand is like what you said, everything happens for a reason. The environment acts that way because it's meant to act that way in that specific situation, whether it's in your body or in nature. And
we live in a perfect system.
Yeah. The human body is actually a very complex system that people, I don't think, realize unless they paid attention in biology class. And I didn't. I actually came across all that information way later when I actually became interested.
Yep.
Because I feel like if you don't have a curiosity, nor an ambition to follow that curiosity, you're not going to get anywhere. You're not going to learn any new things. You're just going to be in a bubble.
Unfortunately, biology class is bullshit.
It is. But that's probably another reason why I didn't pay attention.
Yeah.
Yeah, it makes sense.
like even though I don't agree with what's his face, Neil deGrasse Tyson, on a lot of his beliefs, he did say there's a quote that he said that I'll probably never forget. It pretty much was a comparison between an educator and a teacher. And a teacher just teaches, regurgitates the information they read, and an educator can teach anything to anyone.
Right.
And that's the thing. Like, you can tell when a teacher isn't really into the
Just read the
curriculum.
book itself. Yeah.
yeah. It is Hangover. Yeah, for the morning.
Chapter
or
3.
her, whatever. But
So that's the same difference between an MD and a healer.
yeah. Like that's the thing. When it comes to healing, do you believe that there is a good chance that if because you said it wasn't specific, a diet's not specific. Like, you can't. It's not like a blanket statement you can just cast across a vast community. It's kind of specific to the body. I would agree anyway.
Yeah,
and
I believe that now. I also believe there's seasons, your age, where you live.
Okay, so your altitude, pretty much like
Perhaps.
the air
A
pressure
lot.
affects
Yeah,
the body
but-
as well.
Mm-hmm. Yep.
Okay.
Tropical, non-tropical. I mean, I was trying to eat fruit for 2 years, and I lived in Connecticut.
I was going to
I
ask you how
have no
that
idea.
went, because that doesn't sound good at all.
Yeah.
You know what it was? I think
What?
it's more about what you don't eat. It's more about what you are not putting in your body is more important than what you are. And here's what I mean by that. When people simplify their diets like that, they always feel better. And what I believe that comes down to is you've just taken out all the crap. And even though what you're eating might not be optimal, like it wasn't necessarily optimal for me to eat bananas and dates and, even I would fly in exotic fruits because I was like so desperate to get something different. It wasn't that was making me feel better. That was sustaining me for a little while, but it was the stuff that I didn't eat that now my body was able to not have to deal with and go through a cleansing period. And then I got depleted big time in protein.
Oh,
So
I was curious about that because that's a thing. I haven't tried all the diets, but the one thing I did stay away from was vegetarian because of what I've read is you can get your plant proteins, but a lot of the people that do it long term, they usually come to like what you would consider to be a wall to where they can't get any more protein. Like they just can't. Like
That's how
unless
I am.
they eat meat.
Like you said, like seasonal. Sometimes I'll go like a couple months just eating like lettuce.
That's one thing I
and
didn't even
stuff.
think about.
All of a sudden, then it'll be like one day I'm like, I'm just gonna start eating chicken a lot, or like start
Yeah.
eating beef. All of a sudden, I'll just go a couple months just eating that hardcore. All of a sudden, then I'll just jump back to I'm just go back to salads. That's what tastes good for a little while.
Well, I've just noticed that I call it a flexitarian.
yeah.
And it's not even my term. It's a person that I should never be forgetting because he got me into fitness. But he's like an old school fitness guy from like the 90s. I cannot believe P90X, P90X3.
Oh,
Tony Horton.
Tony.
Yeah.
Yep.
So I didn't come across him in the 90s. I didn't come across him until the late 2000s. But he if I never would have come across that guy, I never would have gotten into fitness. And I would say it changed my life. Like when you say your body knows what it needs and not needs or doesn't need, I would probably 100% agree with you. Because a lot of people I don't think listen to their body, they listen to their wants.
Cravings.
Yeah, their cravings. And like I'm not a big fruit guy, but I've noticed a huge difference in just eating meat and vegetables. And I don't really eat that many vegetables unless I'm cooking with them, if that makes sense.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, I do eat some processed stuff like every once in a while, you break down. You want like a
Sure.
you want a nostalgic cheeseburger from Burger King or something stupid, you know? But if it's not every day or several times a week, I don't think it's bad, especially if you're
Body's
exercising.
designed to deal with that. It's designed to deal with stuff like that. And
Yeah.
Not necessarily the exact chemicals, but it's designed to deal with stuff that shouldn't be there.
Yeah, I just feel like though when it comes to a certain level of artificial, I don't think the body knows. And the
No.
reason why I'm bringing this up because at the very beginning of the episode you were bringing up the liver and the detox work that it does to the body. It's the only organ in the body that detoxes. But what I've come across with a lot of stuff is sucralose.
Mm-hmm.
And from what I've come across, sucralose doesn't get excreted from the body. It just collects in the liver, which over a long period of time can cause fatty liver disease, which is completely non-alcoholic.
Yep.
So, yeah, and that's in pretty much every single drink across the board that I've come across. Even the drinks that I thought were good, like Super Coffee and Black Rifle Coffee, nope, both got sucralose in them. And that may not seem like a big deal, but if you're drinking them multiple times a week, year on end, I guarantee you it's probably going to cause some liver issues.
Yeah,
in later
and
stages.
that's not a one-off. Then if you're doing it regularly, that's where you can do liver flushing. Not to get into a whole other subject, but
I wanted to ask you about that when you brought that up because that's one of my vices. There's a reason why I brought up Super Coffee and Black Rifle Coffee is because I drink one or the other one time a day for the caffeine.
I've never heard of those. What's Super Coffee?
So what got me to Super Coffee was it was created by three brothers in a dorm room, and they didn't use any sugar whatsoever. They used monk fruit as the sweetener, but they have sucralose in the damn ingredients. But it's really good. It's other than that, it's got MCT oil. 200 milligrams of caffeine, I think. And the only bad thing I saw in the ingredients was sucralose. That's the only bad thing. The monk's fruit, you can taste it the moment if you've never had monk's fruit, okay, it's 300 times sweeter than sugar. You taste it. and it like leaves a little bit of aftertaste, but you get used to it. It's just the sucralose that that bothered me.
It sounds like you're a big DIY guy because you cook for yourself and all that. And I know it's hard to replicate exactly what is sold, but what I do is stuff like that. If I like it, I just make it myself. And obviously without the sucralose, so it won't be exactly the same. But, I've got a bag of monk fruit right in my pantry.
Yeah.
And so that would be my answer to something like that is I had a Instagram. I still have it, but I don't really post very often. But I upgraded recipes like a few years ago. I did it more than probably a few, but that was my jam. Like I would take a recipe and I was like, all right, how are we going to make this healthy? Because we know we want to eat ice cream. We know we want to eat lasagna, whatever it is. And so let's do this different.
And the recipe is unhealthy when it mentions Crisco oil or vegetable oil. You're just like, no, we got to replace that with something else because that's like 25 years old.
And it's easy to. But you got to be willing to cook for yourself and stuff. So, yeah, I mean, we all have our vices. Most of us do. The vast majority of us do. But there's a way that you can work with yourself and it takes time to make that so it's not so devastating to your body. And after a while, and I've worked with clients on this, and it's a way that I move you through a process, and there's a certain way I do it. After a while, you won't want the other stuff. It won't taste good. I know a way where I can break the programming. And so that's a mind and body mostly level. And that's what it is. It's programming on different levels. And that's why we have our vices. And at the same time, when you mentioned, I forget what you mentioned earlier about just, eating or drinking something. And I said, yeah, once in a while, whatever. And I love ice cream, and I usually make my own.
Ice cream's lethal. They make it good for a reason, and then you look at the back label and you're just like, oh my god, I just ate like 3,000
there's a lot of healthy ice cream,
calories.
Well, yeah, but I don't have if you have like a weight issue, but so I'm just talking about like the health of it. But so you got to take care of yourself emotionally too. And that's the thing, is that when you start to just really get to know yourself and really know how to ebb and flow with things, and it becomes kind of fun, but it becomes to where that you're giving yourself space. You're giving yourself space to make those decisions. I bought a pint of, it was I forget the name brand, but it was a macadamia nut ice cream, just like the other day. And I'm walking to the grocery store, picking up something different. And I'm like, you know what? I think I want ice cream tonight. And I looked in that section. I'm like, okay, what's on sale? I'm kind of looking around. And I did it with awareness. I did it with full consciousness of what I was doing. It had sugar in it. And
macadamia nut sounds so good right now. Like
it was so good.
Yeah, I can only imagine. Go on.
It was like sea salt caramel.
Oh,
and
yeah.
I'm never going to eat half a pint.
Stop right now.
I fully know when I buy that. Like I have a game in my head that, and I know I'm playing it. So the game in my head is that, okay, I'm going to eat half of this tonight with this meal because I already have it planned. I'll eat half tomorrow. And I'm like, girl, you're not going to eat half that pint. I'm like, yes, I will. I'm going to do it this time. And I sat down fully intending to eat half that pint. And I'm, a few spoonfuls in, and I'm like, you are not eating half that pint. You just eat the whole pint, and you're gonna love it. And
pints
you're
are so small. You should only be able to buy ice cream in quarts or bigger.
When I go to Wisconsin, you're from Madison, so when I go to Wisconsin and I'm in the the area, not necessarily Milwaukee, but near there, Kopp's custard is my absolute
you know exactly what he's talking about, doesn't
you? Oh yeah,
kryptonite.
Yeah.
I feel like
would do it. I would just do it in this all summer long. I'll buy a half a gallon. I know I'm going to do it, and it's only one kind. It's turtle.
Why?
I found
why just
another
half a
second
gallon?
Favorite.
And go in there with $100, expecting to spend all of it. I'm sorry, but I haven't bought ice cream in probably a month and a half, and for that very reason. Like that's another one of my weaknesses. Like I don't touch cookies anymore.
Yeah,
I can't, because if I do,
everyone's
I can't stop.
different, and we're all different. It's like, so I know where my health is at. I know what where my body composition needs to be, and I know all of that, and I know what I can quote get away with. I also don't do that just to get away with something. I also know that I save those times for when I'm gonna allow myself to do it. So that's the whole psychology piece of it. And there is a way that you can get control of that. And that's where you want to land. You don't want to land where you're never going to eat pizza again or never going to eat ice cream again, unless that's what you want, unless that's truly what you want. But most people don't want that.
I don't know. I think I could go without pizza.
I agree with you. Yeah,
French fries, or whatever
I
your
want
thing
that.
If French fries are all right when they're in beef tallow. Like I cook with a whole bunch.
Yeah.
I cook with ghee. I cook with I've actually learned, Zakk, like this is kind of crazy, but we're all kind of, one of the first things you come across when it comes to cooking healthy, you come across olive oil,
Yeah.
okay, and avocado oil. But when you find out when you cook them at a certain level that they actually become carcinogenic, like they're actually not good for you. And when you look at, like, there's a list. I don't have the link memorized, so sorry, people. When we go video, this will be much easier, believe me. But it shows you the temperatures and what to cook and to keep them at a healthy level. And the very top of the list is tallow, ghee, which I had never come across, but is actually very awesome in almost everything. Like, Zakk, if you never cook with ghee, you don't have to put it in the refrigerator. Yep. You keep it in room temperature, just keep it in your cabinet. But it's a clarified butter. And it's like a sweet taste. And you notice the difference when you cook it with your meat. Yeah, it was expensive as shit.
Yeah,
it was expensive as shit. If I do my research and it's expensive, I'm gonna get it anyway. You're not if it's better for me, I'll pay the extra $10, $15 depending on what it is. But it's amazing. And tallow, I shouldn't have to tell anybody about that. Tallow is amazing when you cook it with beef. It's I don't know. I can't explain it. You just have to cook it with. But
I'm coming over.
Yeah. I cook every day. It's kind of stupid. Yeah, it's I just like doing it. Not only do you know what's in it, but yeah,
Tastes so much better.
Tastes way better, especially when you double bake it. Like if it's leftovers and you put it in the oven the next day.
Yeah.
I'm usually disappointed when I go out to eat.
I save it.
You're wasting a lot of food.
I don't know. I don't make that much food. That's why I eat cereal at night, because I don't make enough food.
I've come across a lot of people that don't like leftovers.
Depends on what
Yeah, I
it
don't
is.
understand that.
And it's just like, if it's a couple days, it just double bake it. If it's like 5, 6, 7 days, throw that out. Like, don't get sick just because you're hungry.
It tastes good.
No, it should not taste good after 5 days.
Yeah, no.
But I wouldn't even go over 3 days, to be honest with you. By that time, everything I've made is already gone, and I'm working on my next meal.
Like I said, it depends on what it is. If it's chicken, like, I'll heat it up. But if you're gonna put some spaghetti in a Tupperware, I ain't re-cooking it. I'll just make new spaghetti. I'll go down and get the $10.
You're not making it right.
No.
When you see,
No.
this is the thing. No, listen to me, Zakk.
I do squash spaghetti though.
No, that's good too. But
Yeah.
what you're doing is when you're storing it, you're not leaving enough moisture in the container. So when you reheat it, whether it's in an oven or whatever, it dries it out, and that's why it's not good. So when you go to make it or store it,
Dump a little water on it.
You don't have to. I would double the butter.
Oh, my dad used to just dump water.
I would use butter, like Kerrygold's butter or something like that. Something that's healthy. Don't do the salted. Fuck that. I'd rather just do the salted or unsalted and
Imperial.
No, don't do that. I don't even know what that is. Teri, do you know what that is? Like
Imperial
margarine?
butter?
What is margarine?
Margarine is 1 molecule away from plastic.
There you go. There you go. Same thing with like what's that? Kraft cheese? Isn't that pretty close to
same
plastic?
thing.
Too?
It's not food.
Yeah. Singlets or whatever.
I don't even know.
Kraft singles.
Yeah, Kraft singles.
That's like plastic.
I've seen videos of that being like burned under fire.
Yeah, like with the lighter.
It's
Don't
not
melt.
natural. It's not natural.
Yeah.
So, Teri, when you know a lot of people that are going to listen to this don't have probably the best diet, and there's going to be some that do that are stellar, like CrossFit, and more power to you. I don't do CrossFit. I just believe in calisthenics and eating healthy, at least the best you can. I believe in body weight training way over heavy weights. I know it kind of makes your joints stronger, but you get injured a lot. How many people in CrossFit blow out their knees and their lower backs and shoulders and whatnot? Like, I don't really want to do that.
Yeah, no.
We're roofers. All we have to really lift is, 160 at max if you feel like carrying 2 bundles.
That's a lot.
Which no one wants to.
It is.
Unless the people that like want to show off, yeah. We had a guy up there that was like 3 bundles. You're like,
yeah, you're not coming in tomorrow.
yeah, your back's gonna get. Yeah.
There was that video where that kid was carrying 4 bundles and fell right through the roof.
Yeah.
Oh gosh.
Yeah,
no.
that's 400 pounds.
I do have a question for you. Since holistic kind of falls in the whole like spiritual and cleansing. Do you think you can cleanse, or I guess it'd be consciousness, I guess, right? Your spiritual, if you can cleanse that.
I don't know.
You know what I'm saying?
Can you spiritually cleanse yourself through eating healthy or fasting?
Or anything,
I think fasting maybe.
Yeah.
Fasting maybe. But I don't know. What do you think, Sarah?
Well, we have to define a few things for make sure that we're talking about the same thing. So where I can start with that is what I say, and if you looked at my website, Josh, which I think you did, is it's somewhere on there, maybe a couple times, is that what I believe, what I see, is that when you have cleansed the body, physical body, and the mind, what your thoughts are, your limiting belief patterns and just subconscious thoughts, those kinds of things too. And those are never going to be, I think, 100% to the surface, because those are subconscious. And actually, by the way, that's what controls your thought processes, is what's subconscious. So when you're working on conscious, you're looking at with 10% at most of what you're aware of. So with that said, what I believe connects you to your spirituality, your spiritual body, your higher self, all those things to me are pretty much the same, is you have to have a clean body mind to a certain extent so that you can connect with that. So I think that the path to cleansing, first of all, I don't necessarily think you have to cleanse your higher self or your spiritual body. I think it's already that way. I think that what we're learning here is we're not connected to it. Everything all comes down to your connection with God. Everything, at least in my mind.
I'm so glad you said
so now
that.
when we're on these levels of body and mind, that's what's holding you back. And that's what I believe we're here to fix and learn and get the karma from and all that. So that is where the most effort should be, in my opinion, because then you're going to be able to reach those higher levels. Now, people that I've been around, a lot of them that really concentrate on the spirituality. I mean, the real spirituality, not like, religion or things like that. I'm not talking about. That's a whole nother subject that we actually talked about before we were on the air. So the real key spirituality, these mostly are people that are still driven by their unresolved traumas. And I see a lot of problems in these people's lives and in their reasoning and all that. So I think those people are going at it backwards. They've got the highest goal, correct? But how to get there, we've been given these bodies that are magnificent. And we have these thoughts in our heads, and they're not really in our heads, by the way, at all. But we have this, let's call it a biofield around us. It's the energetic field around us. That's really where your emotions are stored. And that all has to be cleansed out. We're carrying around garbage, physical as well as energetic. And so that is where I think the effort needs to be. And then you're going to reach new levels of spirituality and you're going to be able to connect. I also think psychedelics can probably do that too for a moment. That's kind of a hack, and I don't have any vast experience with it.
It's a cheat code,
But-
and it's amazing.
It's a cheat code. Yeah.
Yeah, like I don't like. It's not that I don't want to spend 30 years meditating. It's that I'm almost 40, and that 30 years of learning how to meditate correctly, or 15, 20 years, it's going to be a long time. You have access to that through natural psychedelics. Not, I mean, I guess, Zakk, what would you say? I guess I've never done LSD or any of that, but like I'm more of like the DMT psilocybin guy. Like anything that comes from the actual earth, I've done besides ayahuasca, which is on my bucket list. I wanted to do it last year, but I'm hoping to this year.
I would agree. I mean, I've done LSD, and it's kind of made me, I don't know, different effects, which I've always had a better effect with like the mushrooms, or like
This, well, yeah, like that. This is why I came out of religion altogether, was because of the whole psychedelic experiences, because you get pretty much the same feeling and more. And because when I say more, I mean like communication. When you've done it, like DMT, for example, dimethyltryptamine, it's created in the brain every time you go to sleep when you dream. That's what creates your dreams. But that the government has done extensive experiments with this, to where they've come under the understanding that it is an actual dimension. You go to the same realm every time you do DMT. And so they've mapped it out. And it's not just the government, but there's been experiments. Like there was a awesome documentary on Netflix like 5, 6, 7 years ago called The Spirit Molecule, DMT. And you had PhDs, you had scientists, pretty much, I don't even know how many people from their fields, like the tip top, and they were talking, and they were getting it through IV intravenously. They weren't smoking it,
right,
or any of that, which was a way stronger dose than what I was receiving, and it completely changed my entire perspective on this planet, or let alone this universe. Like, that you're connected to a lot more than what you think, for one.
Yeah, that's what I was just gonna say. It made me believe that we're all connected as nature. Just like, after I did it, I started coming up with seeing was it the cauliflower, the nervous system looked like roots, and then I started coming across books, and
Your biological system
wow.
emulates that is found in nature.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Everything down to your cardiovascular system, the way your veins, arteries, all of it,
how we
are
need
shaped.
sun.
Yeah.
We need certain things. So it was very.
Vitamin D is a big one that nobody really talks about. But yeah, you say you're not very experienced in psychedelics. I would say if you know somebody, possibly maybe experiment. Like, I don't know, the connection with nature was pretty strong. Like, you find out that you're part of the universe, like, and so is everybody else.
I think our bodies are meant to be a vehicle to that dimension, those dimensions.
Like you said, we're here. Oh, go ahead.
Like I said, what?
I was saying, like you said earlier, that you believe that we're just here to kind of progress to get to that enlightenment. And
yeah, I think that's the ultimate goal, and I think our bodies can be a tool for that. I've done mild psychedelics. I've done shrooms, and I've done edible THC, which I love. So those experiences, I do believe also what you're saying, that they give you access to those other, I guess, dimensions. And I've come across, I've had some great thoughts, ideas. Revelations during those, even just smoking weed. I like, wow, I know, I just figured something out. And the last time that happened, I wrote a whole plan for a house I wanted to build, and I'm like, oh, this is what I need to do, and I need to write. And I could hardly see the paper and the pen. And I was like, let me just write this down because I'm gonna forget.
Yeah.
Well, that's another thing, is I don't think ideas are our own. I think we get them from somewhere else. We just don't know where that place is.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
Like, there's a lot of like, when you look into like prevalent artists like Leonardo, and they speak of the muse, and it's like a I wouldn't even call. I don't even know if it's a person. It could be a place, entity, maybe, but they always kind of describe a place where they get these ideas from, inventions, innovation, all of it.
I agree.
And I
Collective
feel like
consciousness.
I feel like that has a lot to do with it too, because if you like, we've been talking about food for the last hour and a half, and a lot of the food that we eat is dead food, meaning they carry negative frequencies or lower frequencies. And what I know of the body is you need to raise your body's frequency to a certain level to even have access to these other things.
Agree.
And I think that if you have not a cancerous, but a dirty body, you're not going to get ideas. You're not going to have any ambition, any drive. Yes. Right. And I feel like once you get to a certain point, it's almost like a perpetual drive. Like you're going to feel the effects. It's going to push you to become better because you're going to like the effects. And then it's going to just in perpetuity just drive you further. It's just up to get to that point, because a lot of people don't even know about frequencies, let alone even believe it. It's kind of crazy.
It's what? Go ahead.
No, it's kind of crazy, like that frequencies aren't believed in because they're in everything, literally
we're
everything.
Not taught that, but that's the whole educational system now we're getting into, of why we're not taught the truths. But they know it, and they also know that when they muck up our bodies in a physical way, that we're not going to be able to connect to our higher selves. And that's where the heavy metals are big, because those heavy metals are trying to take the place and trying to do the job. They are taking the place. They're trying to do the job of the healthy minerals. And so when that gets displaced, you don't have that same connection. So we're getting testimonials like crazy, people that are using Masterpiece, getting the heavy metals out, which is proven by our testing that we're doing. And many are coming back with two big things. One is we talked about when you go to sleep at night, the dreaming is just ridiculously wild. I know mine. I always thought I dreamt in color. I remembered a lot of my dreams, and I didn't think it could get better. And now I just can't believe it. And so I believe I'm remembering where I go when I go to sleep, because your spirit doesn't sleep, so I think I'm remembering what's happening.
It's almost like an alternate dimension.
I was just
like, honestly, when you dream, like if you get to the point to where you can remember your dreams, and having something to write things down makes it a little bit easier as soon as you wake up. But if you dream on a consistent basis, you'll find that you do come to the same area, but that you can explore. Like you can have control of what you do. It's a lot like Inception without the top. Like, it's I don't know about you, but some of the dreams that I've had have been vivid to the point to where you don't know if they're real or not, because they're so vivid. Like you'll wake up crying because you had like an emotional experience in your dream. You don't know why you're crying, but you're crying. You'll wake up angry, or you'll just jump out of bed.
Yep.
I've done all three of those things. I can't really explain. It's just because I don't dream in like every night. I would say every other, because the ones in between, they're kind of foggy. Like they're not like, I kind of know where I was at, but I don't necessarily know the situation I was in.
Yep.
But it's fascinating.
I got to send you bottles of Masterpiece. Have you tried it yet?
No, I have both. I have the Mastery Story and the Masterpiece.
Oh, good. Okay. And we might have talked about that.
Yeah. Zakk doesn't. I don't think Zakk has it yet.
Yeah, no.
I'll have to send you some.
I would definitely.
Because the greater percentage of people either say just their sleep is improved, or their sleep and their dreams have greatly improved. And I think that's because, and sometimes it doesn't take long. Sometimes it's like the first or second night. It took me like 30 days. I was dealing with brain fog prior, and that was lifting after a couple of days. And there's a small percentage that don't report that back, but most people are like, oh my God, the dreams are ridiculous. And I think that's because what I mentioned is that, the pineal gland, for one, is very sensitive to the central nervous system. And I believe that the metals are some of them are housed there. And once you're cleaning that off, you're able to just function at that level. And I think there's two things going on when you sleep. When we're talking about dreams, I think that's different than where I'm actually going, like reuniting with my higher spiritual self, let's say. I don't really have the words for it because I don't really have any proof or know really what's happening. So I'm just guessing. But I think your brain physically does some kind of reorganization of memories and all that. Like they talk about that with science. It makes sense to me. And I think that's what some of these kind of dreams that we talk about, dreams of being kind of just weird stuff going on and just, things that don't make sense. But where I'm going and I'm remembering, it makes sense to me. Now it's a different dimension and it's not this here that I'm used to. And so, I know it's a totally different experience, but I'll wake up sometimes with guilt. I'm like, "Ooh, what was I doing? Like, what did I have to work out?" Or anger, like you mentioned. And I usually lay there almost always, unless I have to get up from an alarm or something. I will lay there for at least 30 minutes and try to open my eyes and review what just happened, where I was, what I have to work out, that kind of thing. And with Masterpiece, that's taken it to a whole nother level. And people do report that. So I think that speaks again to the heavy metals and the things that aren't supposed to be there. I think they're, and again, let's circle this back. Let's get this whole cycle going where I think part of the reason why we're being inundated with these things is because they know that. What's the ultimate thing I spoke of earlier is your connection with God. So they don't want that. They're trying to disconnect that. And so what do? If you were going to create a slave class that had all these properties that you want this slave class to have, you would make this plan, this exact plan that they're doing. And part of that would be, let's disconnect them from their higher selves. And how do you do that? You do that with heavy metals so that they're no longer, they're conductive to the wrong things, let's say EMFs, and they can be controlled, and they can't connect to their own higher selves. Where we look at these tribes, and some are still on the earth today, but that's how they knew stuff. That's how they just intuitively just knew, because they were connected that way. It wasn't a if, it wasn't a, they just knew. And we don't have that anymore. We just don't have that. You see people in, the stores, they're checked out. They're glazed over. You just can't even hardly have a conversation with a lot of people anymore. It's different than it was. I'm older than you guys. So, it's different than it was when I was growing up, and there's that, you can get that back, but you have to remove what shouldn't be there, what's in the way.
Yeah, I've noticed in the last month or two, sleeping for me has been almost impossible without me like tossing, turning, waking up in the morning.
Could be the mattress.
Just like,
could be the mattress. Dude.
I got new pillows.
That ain't gonna do shit.
I get like super firm pillows, and I realize my neck has been like, I don't know. It could be a bunch of things, but you said like dreaming. I don't dream. Like you say you dream.
Yeah.
I don't dream.
I think a lot of it has to do with that machine, because I didn't really start dreaming until after I started using it.
So that's my thing, is like I've just noticed.
No, I messaged Rife, and he was like, hey, 10,000 hertz. He's like running at 30%, so you don't blow the I can't even remember what he said. So I'm not even going to try to say it, but I should know this, but I don't. So I've been using that along with 432 and 528 hertz, and it synchronizes it, like it goes through the frequencies. Like I have it set to like every 2.5 hours, and it cycles through each frequency every 2.5 hours.
Yep.
And I've been using that for like a month.
Is that while you sleep?
Yeah, the whole 8 hours. I'm like, as soon as I get in, because I have it set on either side of the bed, each coil. And so it kind of creates, each coil creates a force field of that frequency, but it overlaps to where I'm sleeping. So it's like a double bubble. And it's amazing. Like he wants to come back on to talk about it, but I don't want to do it until after Zach's used it for a while, because it's pretty awesome. Like the fact that he sent us, like it came in like a gun case. It was kind of pretty crazy. It was like a big ass case, probably like, I don't know, a couple feet by a foot. It was pretty thick, all padded, and these two giant, I wouldn't say giant, but like 10-inch diameter copper coils. And you hook them up with wires, use the frequencies through the app, and it plays the frequencies not through sound, but through frequencies between the coils. And it was amazing. I wouldn't say I didn't believe it, because I wanted to have them on specifically for that reason, because I'm a big electroculture guy. I believe that copper has a huge benefit to plants. It doesn't matter if it's what you're growing at all. You should use it. It's beneficial. The roots like grow around the copper. It's pretty awesome. It's like they know. But that's another. I feel like that's a whole nother rabbit hole conversation that we could have on another day. But the machine works. Like I mean, I know it's expensive. And he was nice enough to send it to us, but it's. I don't think it's a knockoff. I don't think there's been a couple companies. I'm not saying they're knockoffs, but they're variations of it, like Spooky 2 and things of that nature. But this one seems to. I've never used the original from Tesla, or even I don't even want to say this, but I'm going to anyway. I don't know if Crow said that he had an original Tesla coil, or if he had an original Royal Rife machine. I can't remember. I just know that it was original of one or the other. But if it's an original Rife machine, because he was talking about bulbs that you had to replace after a certain
Tesla coils don't have a bulb.
Yeah, so I'm thinking that because I believe it used it has something to do with infrared. I could be butchering this, but anyway, this machine seems to work. Like, you can adjust the power depending on the frequencies, but I believe he's got maybe a one tier higher, but it's not FDA approved, of course, and he can't advertise it as medical advice. However, I can do whatever I want on my platform, and I'm not going to advertise that as medical advice, but I am going to say check it out for yourself, because it does. Like, when the crazy thing is, Teri, is when you get the app, and this is not a paid advertisement, I swear, because it's just I'm not that way, Zakk. We would never be. The app has thousands of frequencies, and he has it all labeled to what sickness, whether it's IBS, depression, anxiety, cancers. They've got cancer frequencies. Because if you know anything about Rife, his great grandfather, he kind of stumbled across all this by accident. And when he found out that everything had a frequency, including sicknesses, he was able to destroy them without any side effects. Like, when I brought up the study of when Rife had 13 terminal cancer patients, and in 30 days he cured 10 of them, and it took him an extra month to cure the other 3. Matthew said that I was wrong, and there was actually more people, which is crazy, because all he was doing was using the frequencies for a couple minutes a day over a period of 30 days. And because of the frequencies, because that's another thing. It's not just actions and thoughts. It's everything around you. Like, even what you think is dead, like the recliners that Zakk and I are sitting in, it'll still give off a certain frequency. It doesn't matter. You're not going to.
It's wild.
Yeah. And that's where thought comes through. That's where manifesting your future comes in. This is where karmic debt comes in, to where how you treat yourself and others directly correlates with how you're going to be affected in future events. Like, I've noticed that if you're better things happen to you, and when you're shitty things happen to you. Yeah. Like, I'm just like, I don't know. I don't know. Like, I'm sure you know what I'm talking about, Teri, because if you know to pay attention, it's really hard to miss these signs.
At the same time, it sometimes seems like those that are really shitty, they get all the good stuff too. It seems like they're not really reaping. So I don't, maybe I don't know what's up with that, but
Well,
it might
no,
not
that's
be.
the thing though, is monetization, like all the materialistic wealth, that's all fraud. That's all
Yeah.
fake. None of that matters. None of that
True.
matters. That is all
Well-
driven by ego.
Yeah. Stuff, meaning not necessarily physical property, but I study law versus legal too. Like I know all about that stuff too. But I mean, it just seems like they're not really reaping the full extent of what they should be. So maybe some of that's delayed. I don't know, but I do know it's true that the better that you treat yourself and others, it makes sense that you're not creating karma or if you're not, you're creating karma. And that's why I don't also understand like this. You have a vehicle that you take through life. It's your body. It's your vehicle. You're only given one. If you were given one car when you're 16 years old and they're like, oh, that's it, you know, you might get one again when you're 50, but that's it. How would you treat it? You know? And so like our bodies are, and we just talked about on this podcast, they are also the vehicle that you can connect to your higher self, but you know you're treating your only body that you're getting in this life anyway like shit, you know, and you're gonna feel like shit. Maybe not now, but it's gonna creep up on you, and I don't understand that. Like I don't want to feel crappy. I want to be able to do as much as I can do when I want to do it. You know, I don't want to be some old person that can't, you know.
Yep.
Please shoot me if that's the case. I don't want to be that.
I come across older people that are very serious. Like the childishness in them is gone.
Yeah.
And they're bald. They're extremely unhealthy. They gray hair. Like they just seem miserable. And I've told people this that's older than me and they don't like it, but I don't care. Because it's like, I'm going to be old as hell, but I'm still going to be childish. Because if you lose that spark, I believe that really, like, it's not just forgiveness and things of that nature and being kind that keeps you young. It's keeping that childlike spark. And if you can't be goofy when you're older because you think it's childish, I think there's something wrong with that. Like maybe that's just me, Zakk. I don't know. You have a kid. I don't have kids. But it's just like, if you lose that and you become like super serious, I just feel like your world gets bland.
Oh yeah.
Like there's no excitement. Like if you're like, oh, you know,
No one wants to hang around you because there's nothing exciting about you. Yeah, I get you.
Like, I don't know, Teri, what do you think?
Well, I think they're jaded. I think that they're and I get it. Like, you know, I've been through periods of my adult life where I'm just like, oh man, I'm lividly mad. You know, like when I was telling you that group that I left, high control religious group that I left, man, I was pissed after I realized what I had given away and just squandered. And so I understand the feeling that people can have when they've lived this life for decades and you just get so jaded sometimes and you're just so fed up. And I think that's the challenge, you know? And I also don't think the answer is to just put a smile on your face either. And I'm not saying you do that, Josh. I'm not saying that. But I'm saying that the two ends of the spectrum here is you have to deal with your stuff. And I think if the person that you just described, which we all know people like that, are those that have not used their time wisely to deal with their stuff, and also have maybe probably not even just perhaps, very likely not found their purpose and what, even if there even is a purpose, but what what turns you on? Like what are you really designed? Because it just seems like some people are designed to do certain jobs here, just designed to be have certain character, personality, qualities, right? And so I think that we have these skill sets kind of inborn. And so if you haven't discovered that, you haven't found what lights you up, and a way to do that. I think that is lack of the work.
Well,
that I call the work.
I'm pretty sure this person's never done psychedelics in their life. I really do, because I even think a small dose, even microdosing psilocybin, you're gonna pretty much change like a 180. Just because I think it's impossible not to. It's
from one time. You think? Does that I don't know.
Yeah. I really do, because it raises your serotonin levels. And this is why they tell you not to take a large dose over a long period of time, because it'll make you serotonin dependent. And then when you stop taking them, you'll become super depressed. So if you microdose them, it raises your serotonin just enough to where you're happy. And you actually, in my opinion, I feel like it does bring you to a level, depending on where you're at in life, health, and spirituality, obviously, because if you have like a negative mindset, I don't think it's going to have a benefit to you at all, unless it's a larger dose one time. Like, it would have to be a much larger dose. And I'm not a doctor with this stuff. It's just, I've done it a bit, and not to where it's like recreational. Well, I would say probably recreational, but not consistent. Maybe like once every couple months.
Yeah.
You know, DMT is a much larger experience. I think that by far one time would change a person 100%.
But it changes. Explain a little bit more to me. So if you're saying the one time, so it would change your thinking process because of your experience,
Yeah.
or are you saying yes, or
Yeah.
are you saying that it would change the brain chemicals moving forward? Because I can't see that part happening.
Well, that's the thing, is when you take psilocybin, it's actually been documented that it actually regrows neuralink or neuro pathways in your brain. Yeah. To where that it can actually give you, I would say, like creativity, for example. I would say over a short amount of time, it would build your creativity to the point to where you'd come up with ideas that you didn't have before. If it was a larger dose first time, I would say the love aspect. It's hard to explain, especially to those that have never felt it before. It can be overwhelming. But like a large dose of psilocybin, you feel connected to the point to where the things you find dramatic are meaningless. Like, if you take a large enough psilocybin dose, you can almost experience ego death. With DMT the first time, 100%. Like, that's another reason why I changed. Like, I was kind of a piece of shit when I was younger, in my 20s. Was like a liar, a thief, a whole bunch of things, and nothing ever went my way. Like, nothing worked out right. And then I came across psychedelics. The first time I did DMT, it changed my entire perspective. 100%. This was 26, 27 years old. I'm 39 now. And I've done it a handful of times. And each experience was almost like divine. Like a lot, like I've come across some people that say psychedelics are demonic, and I don't believe that. Like, unless your mindset is not in a positive way, I can understand that. But I've never felt anything evil. It's always been like a positive experience, and it's always made me better. Like, and I'm also another guy that believes in random acts of kindness. Like, I don't give a shit. Like, I don't care about money. I don't want to be rich, because if I was rich, I wouldn't be rich, because everybody else around me would be wealthy, if that makes sense. Like, it's just, I don't believe in all that shit. Like, because of the psychedelics. Like, before that, I wanted all the nicest, newest, awesome thing. Like, literally. Not a car, but just like the super nice clothes, the super expensive clothes, the super expensive materialistic bullshit, right? After psychedelics, didn't care. I have more sweatpants than I do jeans. I'll just say that. It's just I don't care about all that materialistic stuff anymore because of that. And I feel like if more people did it, it would possibly, depending on the number of people that did it, would make the world a better place. Because I think that's another reason why psychedelics are illegal. Because it would give religion a run for their money. Because when you look back in the history, I feel like that's where religion came from. Like 100%. Like religion is only a few thousand years old. Like the oldest religion on this earth right now is Hinduism, and it's like 4,000+ years old. Christianity is only 2,000 years old. Okay, so it's kind of crazy. And before that, what did they do? Because Jesus was never spoken about. That's the crazy thing. And when Jesus was around, if he was a real person, he only spoke about love. Like he only talked about like treating your neighbor the way you wanted to treat yourself. Don't discriminate based off their skin color, things of that nature. It was all love. But and there's things with him and like mystery schools. It's kind of crazy when you read those books, especially when you're Catholic or was Catholic, I should say. Zach, I know you're over there chuckling. But yeah, it's crazy. Like that. This is another reason why I want to do ayahuasca. It's because ayahuasca is an ancient drug. It's thousands of years old, like thousands.
Would you go where the ayahuasca is surrounded by the culture of ayahuasca? Because that's what I would want to do.
I think you
because
have
people
to.
are doing it outside of the whole experience and the culture.
Well, there's an expensive trip to the Amazon, which I'm very intrigued about, but it's expensive. Or you could go to New Mexico and do it for a few thousand as opposed to 10,000. And you'd probably get the same experience. However, I know they do the experience out in nature in New Mexico. However, Amazon would be way better if you had the money, which is why Graham Hancock and like all the people that I've read about have done. But it's just like, imagine if the politicians did just one not ayahuasca, but any psychedelic experience. The policies that we have would be extremely, like medical industry, non-existent. I feel like because everybody who has like a psychedelic experience usually has a very similar experience if it's a large enough dose. Like they all go to a place where they feel like an over amplified feeling of like love, acceptance, compassion. They always come across an entity of some sort that they can't understand. Okay, but they don't care. Like dang near all of them. Mainly in DMT, but large doses of psilocybin. This is why I think like what I've read about the human body, that we have access to the fifth dimension. And I don't know if that's true, but if you think of the third dimension, the way we live in now is all materialistic. And you have the fourth dimension, which I'm assuming is the spiritual realm of some sort. And then the fifth dimension is like an astral, something similar. But I feel like there's some connection there, that we have some sort of, I don't know if it's God or the creator or whatever, but it's some sort of higher being that is way more powerful than humans or anything that I know of. I don't want to say it's demonics. I don't believe in that. Like I believe in demons and angels and stuff, but I don't, unless it's an evil feeling, Zach?
Yeah, I know what you mean.
Yeah, I don't see it being a bad thing, but I don't know. That's just my experience.
It all makes sense if you believe that we're spiritual beings having a physical experience.
Yes. Like that's the one thing is I believe that we chose to be here. Like we don't remember it, but we're just flesh. I don't want to say, flesh suits. We're like pretty much carapaces for our spiritual selves. And this is just a 3D experience that we can't have in the higher dimensions.
Right.
Like this is why I don't believe like when you die. Like that's it.
Yeah.
I don't believe that shit at all. And that's what they teach you, if you're good or bad, you go to one place or the other. I think it's a little bit deeper than that.
Well, that's not even true death either, though. The religion that I was in for a long time actually did teach like true death of everything. When you die, you're just gone, and so that's very rare. Usually, the religions will teach that there's something going on after, and that's to the religion's advantage because then you have to do this or that, and that's the name of your podcast.
That's why you see. I've already looked into trademarking that, and you can't. Because if I could, Zakk, we would be super wealthy because the amount of times that people say this and that is absolutely crazy. And every time they say that, I'm just like, thank you. That just makes my point a little bit stronger. But, I think there's a lot of stuff that is about the spiritual realm that is kept from us. Like the Catholic Church, for example, the Vatican. I believe they actually know what's going on, but they keep a lot of that stuff under wraps in the archives, and they only teach what I would consider to be the above ground, no pun intended, or depending on what you take, whatever. Wanted humanity to know this, to keep us away from what's actually going on, because, I brought up space at the very beginning. I have an intimate relationship with it. If that stuff is even remotely real, all this BS that's happening on this planet is absolutely meaningless. The wars between the countries, the poverty, the scarcity and everything doesn't make any sense unless you're trying to make a buck from it.
Right.
That's the only thing that makes sense. It's the only reason why corruption exists, I believe. It's the only reason why we're in the medical situation we're in, where the health, where what is it, 65, 70% of adults in America are obese. It's probably higher than that.
Probably no, yeah.
Yeah. Not a lot of them know about health, and they only believe people in lab coats.
Right.
It's crazy when you think about that, but that is real. I've thought about wearing a lab coat to my family's house and being like, hey guys, I didn't go to school, but let's listen for a second.
Without a degree, you have to have some kind of proof. It used to be that people knew you, and then your life experience and your character speaks for itself. Now you have to have a piece of paper with some letters after your name. That's just the system that we live in, and I think this is a system of duality, and I think it's never going to change. And I think people are meant to come down and try to, change, and we're going to change this and we're going to make this better. And I think that there has been periods of time where things have been, quote, better and then worse, and the cycle's going out, but I don't think it's ever going to change. The people that are trying to make heaven on earth, it's why would you do that? This is meant for this, whatever's happening. And just, we're going to cycle in and out of certain periods, and there's a reason for it. And I don't claim to know, because how can I know? But I feel there's enough evidence to show that this is how this is how it's supposed to be, this duality. And what is my purpose? What am I supposed to be doing with that? And I always think it comes down to, not that you asked, but I always think it comes down to, it's individual. You're trying to save other people, it's not going to happen. There are no saviors. Quit trying to save people. You just, first of all, you got to save yourself, and you're really here for your own self-evolution. But in the meantime, we help each other, and it's all one consciousness and all of that. But it's not as straightforward as people make it seem like it is. Well, it is and it's not, right? So it's meant to be confusing, I think, on some level. And because we don't remember, we're who we were before, and we're not really all that connected to our higher self. It's all confusing, and I don't think anybody's right.
It's like amnesia, like a massive case of societal amnesia. All of our history has pretty much been fabricated. The winners write the history, period.
Yeah.
And it's all based off monetary gain. It's all based off money. Who wants more power
let's take that idea once, okay? So
Okay.
it's based on money. I agree, but once you have all the money, what is it that you're looking for? Because there's something else.
Power and influence.
Yes, it's about power. So the money is the system by which they get the power, and that's what people want. Most people here want some kind of power. In fact, it's innate in us to want to need to be empowered and not give your power away. So it's all because of that aspect. And the truth is, you have the power. We all have the power, and we're giving it away every single day when we're looking to politicians and doctors. That's what we're doing. We don't have to. We can stop right now. And they don't want us to know that. And all this whole system we've been talking about for the last 2 hours, between the food and what they're spraying on us like bugs and the indoctrination programs and all of that, is all based on taking our power. No, they're not even taking it. And see, I said that and I caught myself. Is based on them getting us to consent to giving our power away. That's what it comes down to.
Based off convenience. A lot of it's convenience.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Yeah, and so you don't want to do the work, right? And so it comes down to convenience. Why? Because you don't want to do the work, whatever that is.
Which is, to a lot of people, everything.
Yeah.
They just want to go to work, come home, and plop down on the couch and watch their favorite TV show, like Housewives of Dubai.
I don't know many people that are happy doing that, even though on the shell of themselves and on the outside it might seem that way, but when you really talk to them, they're very unfulfilled.
Yeah.
Or they want more all the time.
Oh yeah. Yeah. Those aren't the ones that usually sit on the couch though. Those are the ones that are usually craftily thinking of ideas, but
Hopefully. Hopefully.
for their own benefit though. Just nothing's ever good enough. I like simple too. Like I simple. Like I downsized big time 5 years ago, just like get rid of the stuff. And boy, it's glorious to not have. I never had a lot, but what I did have, I cut down in like half at least. And you can concentrate on yourself a lot more. You're not taking care of stuff. Can't stand taking care of stuff.
No. But you have to think of the society that we live in. You know, like a lot of people base their success off of the amount of money in their bank account. That's a big problem. You can't do that.
It's hard to keep that in balance because you need that to go anywhere, to do anything in the matrix. I have to have fiat. I have to have some kind of currency that is not a barter system. Well, not a barter system. And so it's very limiting.
Very. And it's all done like it's done like that on purpose.
Right.
But Teri, it was great. We're gonna have to have you on again. I think this was a great conversation.
Yeah, thank you so much. It was
sorry, Zakk, go ahead.
No, I said yeah, it was. Hey, and
there's buttons I forget about sometimes.
No, I really want to get in to Masterpiece. That's the next thing we're at. And
probably, yeah. Because I did want to touch on that a little bit about once we got into the heavy metals, but we didn't get there. It kind of went a little bit of this and a little bit of that. So that's kind of what happens. But it's always a great conversation, no matter what. But definitely, Teri, if you could just take a few minutes, kind of let everybody know where they can kind of find you, your work, and all of that. Yeah.
So I have a pretty robust website. My personal website is livetruehealth.com, and there's no E in the word true. I say there's no E in true because it always ends with you. So livetruehealth.com is where you can find me. If you want to find out more about Masterpiece, which is kind of what we touched on a little bit here and there, that has been, it's a formula that is really like no other nano-sized colloidal zeolite formula. And you can go to Masterpiece, and the piece is spelled PACE, like, the peace sign for a reason. So Masterpiece by HCS.com. And you can get a lot of information from the site. I don't know if you have your own link, but if you do, you probably do and don't realize it. But if you do, and people use that, they'll actually get a discount if they wanted to try Masterpiece. It's a slight discount because we have a private side and a public side to our site, and you can only get in the private side with, like, say, a referral. So, Josh, you sound like you put in an order already. You'd probably have a link somewhere. I can help you find that. But yeah, so we'll talk about that maybe more next time. But it's quite a phenomenal product. I will say that. I usually don't come off salesy at all, so I don't push anything, and I don't sometimes give it even the justice that it needs, that it should have, rather. But it is a really phenomenal product, and it's been proven to take out heavy metals at a rate that nothing has ever been proven to do before, and microplastics. And that's kind of been the theme of our discussion, right? Not today, really. But I feel we talked more about the problems and not necessarily, too much about the solution. So, but the problems are there. And we all agree that we see them. And so now what? It's kind of begs the question of now what? And maybe we can get into that more next time. And on every level, like the body, mind, and the spirit level, we can talk about more. Because I would actually like to know more about psychedelics as well, about kind of some of the solutions. So,
Well, there's a lot of solutions, actually, like cures to PTSD, anxiety, depression, a lot of things people take medication for that would be treated, if not cured, by psychedelics. Most likely microdosing, whether it be ibogaine, ayahuasca, psilocybin, ibogaine, and psilocybin have been used for military personnel.
And that's legal. You can get that stuff anywhere. I know you said New Mexico, you can do ayahuasca, which I didn't realize.
I know California. I know California for sure. You can do ibogaine and psilocybin. As of anywhere else besides ayahuasca, I do not know.
You said you can do it. Does that mean you can get it from there and bring it home?
No. You go there. It's like a retreat.
Okay.
Yeah, you go there.
Shaman.
You could do it. Well, the way they describe it, which I understand, if you're gonna do it in the most natural state, so that you don't have a negative experience, because they don't want negative experiences. That's anywhere you go that does ayahuasca. But ibogaine is another psychedelic that is extremely powerful with military personnel with PTSD and depression. It seems to cure it like first time.
Wow, that's amazing. I've heard of that, and I know California. I knew you could do ayahuasca there. I didn't know about New Mexico. I'm between both of those states, so it's like a hop, skip, and a jump for me. But when you do microdosing, that would be something you'd have to have on hand.
Yeah.
Daily. So how would you get that then?
Probably be.
I don't think with ayahuasca you need it.
No, ayahuasca you can't microdose, but not, at least not that I know of.
No, I'm talking about like psilocybin.
Oh, psilocybin. Yeah, you would just get it. You would just buy it, and then you would get vegetable tablets. At least that's what I used. You break it down, you put in the vegetable tablets, and that's pretty much a microdose. You take that once a day, and that's less than like a half a gram. It's usually around like 0.25, 0.4.
But that's legal then. So I'm saying is how
depending on the state. Depending on the state, we have to say that right now. It's depending on the state.
Okay.
Yeah.
You know what Arizona is?
You don't know.
I don't know. I don't know, but I feel like it should be legalized everywhere. But the government knows what's up.
Yeah.
And they're like, no, we don't want love. We want hate and division. Like, that's pretty much what it is. Like, I mean, like it would be a way better place if everybody microdosed. Everybody would be gardening. Everybody would be wanting to know like how the community's doing, the neighbors are doing,
and laughing,
100
and just laughing.
It's just, I don't know. It's weird. It's not weird, but it's just like you don't know unless you do it. And if you talk negative of it because you haven't done it, then don't say anything at all because you don't know what you're talking about. Like 100%. You're just talking out your ass at that point. But yeah, We'll definitely talk about that more. Zakk and I have brought it up quite a bit on the podcast. We're big advocates of it. I think that it would change the world in a large experiment. I've never had any negative experiences.
You might have to hook me up first, and then I'll come back on. And I'll hook Zakk up with some masterpiece in the meantime.
Well, we'll work on that. We'll work on that. But yeah, we definitely look forward to the next episode.
I don't know about mailing it. We'll both get in trouble.
But it was a pleasure, Teri.
Find a way.
Yes, I hope you have a good rest of your weekend, and I'll probably touch base with you in the next few weeks. Probably, if you can, schedule something closer to June, just to give us some time to get some other guests on.
Yeah, sure, absolutely. I would love to come back, and yeah, just keep in touch, and Zakk, I'll send you a bottle of masterpiece. So
awesome.
Send me your address.
All right, yeah, we'll do.
Yeah, I'll give you your. This is why I wanted you to have an email on the website so you can actually do this type of stuff. But I'll give him your email, and you'll hear from him shortly. Okay, sounds good. All right, thank you, Teri, and thank everybody. Weekend. Yes, thank you too. All right, bye, everybody. Bye.
This has been This and That with Josh and Zakk. The guys' passion are to talk about anything from conspiracy theories and aliens to alternative health, corruption, free energy. If the mainstream media is pushing an agenda on it, we dive deeper. Thanks for listening to the show. We hope you enjoyed it. Make sure to like, rate, and review. And we'll be back soon. But in the meantime, find us on Twitter at TATWJAZ Podcast. And hit the website at This and That with Josh and Zakk. See you next time.